Harry's Wife, part 101.28. The apple did not fall far. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I've explained before that for a narcissist to be created, there has to be a genetic predisposition allied with a lack of control environment. That means that usually either Ma or Pa, though it can come from further back in the lineage, is a narcissist themselves, and then they pass that on to the child. That alone is not enough. There must be a lack of control environment. And lack of control environments take many forms: physical or sexual abuse of the child, neglect, not being given any emotional support, being told that they're wonderful and brilliant at everything when actually they're not, being told they've done okay, but they could do better, grey B syndrome, and there's many more. Put those two items together, a narcissist is created. And therefore, you will invariably see that often, though not always, there is a succession of narcissists in a particular family. Sometimes it can skip a generation, sometimes there's an intervener, which prevents that lack of control environment formulating with the genetic predisposition, and therefore no narcissist arises. I've explained previously, of course, that Harry's wife's father, Thomas Markle Sr., is a narcissist. There are some people who disagree. They're entitled to do so, but they're still wrong. There are those that say, oh, he's been badly treated by his daughter. He has. And he's just a father who is reacting to that. Well, you're right, he is reacting to that. But he is reacting as a narcissist would do so. Rather than sucking it up and trying to reconcile matters, not that it would necessarily help him, but to do so in a private fashion, he goes running to the press, bleating about it, complaining about it, doling out the pity plays. And I've explained in parts past in many instances which support the demonstration that he is indeed a narcissist. This, along with the fact that her mother is one as well, means that Harry's wife would have really struggled not to become one herself. The genetic predisposition could come from either of them. And as we know from information that's been provided from Harry's wife herself, or more reliably from the likes of Tom Bower in his book Revenge, the childhood of Harry's wife was one whereby there was a divorce of her parents and there were lack of control environments. It wasn't that she was left rooting around the bins for stuff to eat, but nevertheless, the lack of control environment was there and was combined with that genetic predisposition, and thus Harry's wife became a narcissist. In a slight break from Harry's wife and the coverage surrounding the recent death of Queen Elizabeth, news comes this way from TMZ that Thomas Markle can't go near tabloid honcho after alleged death threat. Oh. The tabloid owner, who claims Thomas Markle is out to kill him, just got 2 years of court-ordered protection from Harry's wife's father. According to new legal documentation obtained by TMZ, a judge granted Jeff Rayner a restraining order against Thomas, who didn't show up for Tuesday's court hearing. He didn't turn up, apparently, because Thomas told TMZ that he wasn't aware that there was a hearing. The protective order will be in place for the next 2 years. And even though Thomas Markle didn't show up for the hearing, the court says he was served with legal papers. TMZ broke the story. Jeff, the co-owner of tabloid and news agency Coleman Rayner, claimed he was scared of what Thomas might do to him after Harry's wife's pops allegedly threatened Jeff in a book. Remember? Rayner claimed Harry's wife's father vowed to kill him in an excerpt from Tom Bower's book Revenge, Harry's Wife, Harry and the War Between the Windsors, wondering if Thomas might use a gun to get revenge in a long-standing beef, and claiming the alleged threat was causing stress and anxiety. Jeff and Thomas have been squaring off for years, with Thomas Markle suing Coleman Rayner back in 2021, claiming an agreement the two sides made regarding some staged photos destroyed his relationship with Harry's wife and Prince Harry, something, of course, that Tom Bower also mentioned in the book Revenge. This might be a case of two narcissists colliding, with Rayner being a shit and reneging on the agreement, which of course threatens Thomas Markle's sense of control, and he explodes with ignited fury, issuing the threats. The fact is, the reneging of the agreement, whether this was done by a narcissist or not, is a threat to the control of the narcissist that is Thomas Markle. He then issues a threat. If you want to understand more about whether a narcissist will act upon a threat or not, and this is a very detailed and important area, you can watch my excellent video, The Narcissist and Threats. You can also access from the Knowledge Vault, Will the Narcissist Use Sensitive Material Against Me, i.e. sex tapes and the so like. Very, very useful material. Thomas Markle's sense of control is threatened. He issues a threat in order to assert control over the non-compliant part of his fuel matrix, namely Mr. Rayner. As a consequence of that, Mr. Rayner, if he's a narcissist himself, has his own sense of control threatened, causing him then to turn to the law to assert control over Mr. Markle. Or, if he's not a narcissist, he still feels threatened and made to feel uneasy by these threats and, suitably frightened, makes an application for a restraining order. The restraining order is granted. Mr. Markle says he wasn't aware that there was a hearing. He might be telling the truth, or that could be a lie, being done to engender sympathy and to try and deflect from responsibility for having the restraining order slapped upon him. Of course, the restraining order of itself is a threat to his control once again, and he has to deal with it, and in part he does so by deflecting, by essentially saying, this shouldn't have been granted because I didn't know about the hearing. And it remains to be seen whether he will just let it sit there, or whether he will try and deal with it by making an application to have it lifted. The point is, his behaviours in terms of threatening people demonstrate where Harry's wife gets her own behaviour and narcissism from. And we've seen repeated instances of the behaviour of Thomas Markle in that regard. And here's another example that's being highlighted by TMZ. It's useful for you to understand where Harry's wife's narcissism has come from, and it also shows the continuing nature of Thomas Markle's narcissism, which, of course, I've highlighted in parts passim and also did so when I was explaining Tom Bauer's book, Revenge. This provides you with that further understanding about what is actually going on, to enable you to realise where she gets it from and to understand why he's behaving as he does. If you continue to think that he's just a hard-done-to father, well, you can do so, but the evidence shows that it's to the contrary, and the actual fact, his way of responding is invariably by way of aggression, calling out the behaviours, calling her a liar, and also by way of pity play. I'm just a good dad that brought her up, and of course he did do a lot for her. But as I've explained previously, the things that she did for her, the things that he did for her, weren't motivated, although he thinks it is, by empathy. It was motivated by his narcissism, for the purpose of asserting control over her, by spoiling her, by giving her whatever she wanted, by treating her like a princess, which has, of course, had the ramifications in the behaviours that we now see, by paying for her through university, by paying for her in relation to her car, and all of those other things. Narcissists can be benevolent. They can be helpful. But that benevolence and help and kindness is only done in accordance with the prime aims. It's just a different route to getting to it. And at the same time, that narcissist, of course, will, in some instances, behave in a malign fashion also. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.